This video was made possible by the EA Creator Network. Hello everyone, welcome on in. I'm Velvet. Thank you for joining me today in The Sims 4, where we are building a cute little seaside restaurant in the brand new world of Gibbi Point, which is the world that came with the Adventure Awaits pack. And I had so much fun building this. I did spend a lot of time in debug with this build, and it was a great excuse to explore the debug from Adventure Awaits. Now, because this is a restaurant, this does also use the Dine Out pack. So this particular build is 2 packs only, Dine Out and Adventure Awaits, and obviously base game because, you know, you still need your base game. And yeah, this is what I created. Now, this is on the Fearful Fish Lounge lot in Gibbi Point, which is a 20 by 20 lot. And it is the which one is it? I think it's not Jellyfish Junction. It's the Crystal Cove neighborhood, I believe. I think that's the name of it. It's the one top right. So yes, that's that for that lot up there. I'm replacing the Fearful Fish Lounge lot. I decided on a restaurant just because I was thinking of useful places or useful community lots for this world, and I thought, well, you know, restaurants are always great for going out on dates and, you know, for a little bit of romance. And I thought like a little seaside style restaurant would be really cool for this world because, you know, it's quite coastal. There's a lot of water around this world, so I thought, you know what, that's going to be a really good idea. So that's what I did. So I just did a little trick there. And the little trick that I just did is when you are landscaping close to the foundation of a house or a building or whatever, what I suggest is actually put the building down so it's flat like I've just done. And what that means is that when you actually lift up the building and put it back on its foundations again, it means that those items that you've placed down on the ground, as I've done here, won't actually shift. They'll stay in place, but the building will go up, which means that you'll be able to put rocks, plants, whatever, really close to the foundation of the house, and they stay in place without you having to, you know, fluff around with a mod or anything like that. I mean, you need BB Move objects on, no doubt about that. So that's your placement cheat, but you don't need tool or anything like that to place right next to a foundation like this if you just use that little trick, which is put down the foundation so it's flat, lift it back up again when you're ready and have your landscaping done, and it'll be sitting really nicely right flush against your foundation. So that's a neat trick for when you're landscaping and doing that sort of thing. The items that I'm using here for the landscaping are actually from the debug menu with Adventure Awaits. So I did really dig deep into the Adventure Awaits debug menu for this one. So that's all the landscaping stuff. So that's the rocks, the ferns, the grasses, the little daisy things, the cabbage trees, and all that sort of thing. And there you go. So I've lifted up the house. It's on its foundation and nothing's moved. It's all sitting there really flush and nice against the foundation. So it's a neat little trick to know that if you are, you know, working on your landscaping skills and you want to get something nice and close to a building, yeah, that's a little workaround for things bumping up and down and not sitting flush against the foundation. So this is a little bit of debug fencing that I found. I used a couple of different kinds of debug fencing actually with this particular build. So that was fun, just digging into that and just coming up with like little different ideas for some of the debug items that I use. I am also absolutely in love with these little planters. So with in the debug there are 3 different planters and like these little sort of barrels, they're little tin barrels or something like that. And there's like 3 different styles of planter in it, and it's fantastic. Now the little thing that I'm doing here off to the side, it's like a little sort of ruggedy, shacky kind of shelter, and it would look quite cool under the roof. Unfortunately, I did end up having to move that just because sometimes with some of those debug items, they don't necessarily sit, or they sit, but they don't necessarily allow your Sims to walk around them. And that was the case with that particular item. Like I put a table underneath it, and the Sims couldn't get under the shelter to sit on the table. So I ended up having to change that slightly after I finished the build. So that little rugged little shelter there will change, and I ended up putting a couple of other items there instead. So it was like there were some really cool pallets, like sort of worn down pallets there. So I ended up using those instead and putting like some plants and some like driftwood on it. It looked quite cool. But unfortunately, that idea there was not a good one. It didn't work. You know, sometimes these things don't work and you have to make those changes in playtesting, and it is what it is. So the wallpaper that I used are 2 wallpapers from Adventure Waits. So well, how many did we get with that pack actually? I'm going to say 6. I think six different wallpapers. So there was, I think, 4 kind of cabiny style wallpapers, one of which I've used there, and then there's 1 stone one, and there's 1 actual wallpaper, which is great for interiors. It's got like pine trees and a whole lot of different swatches and stuff in it, which is really cool. And yeah, so there's like quite a few cool swatches as far as wallpapers go with Adventure Waits. I really like the choices of that. I used a few different windows as well. I actually ended up changing those windows that I just put on there, but I think you can see that in the build, because as I was sort of progressing the build, they ended up being too big for what I was doing, so just ended up changing those. But yeah, used a few of the different windows. You can sort of see all the different styles there coming up. And the little room that's in behind this table that we're just putting into place now is actually going to be a bathroom. So I made it so the bathroom was like almost like a little outhouse, but a bit fancier. So it's outside, and you have to go outside to go to the bathroom and do that sort of thing. And with the fencing that I'm just putting up now, that's debug fencing as well. So I was able to just like pop that around the place and stack that up around the exterior. What I liked about that debug fencing is that it had like a motley kind of effect to it, and I felt like that really worked for like the rustic kind of feel of a seaside restaurant. So I was really happy with just like some of the items that I got to choose and play with from the debug menu, just because there was some really neat stuff in there that actually very much suited this particular build. So that made me very happy. It was actually quite funny. If you watch the tours, you'll actually see this. It was quite funny when I was playtesting this build. As seems to be the way with a lot of my things that I do, a sim died, and then a second sim died. So the first sim died as I was playtesting, and then the second sim died as I was in the middle of tours. So in the middle of the tour, you'll see Grim, and there's like a body. And then I think a little bit later you see Grim inside, like playing with the computer and stuff. So keep an eye out. If you do watch tours right at the end of the video, you will see Grim walking around this build, because there was some bad times for a couple of customers who came here. I don't know what it is about what happens in this game, but yes, whenever I'm playing it, there just seems to be death and chaos. I don't even try to make death and chaos. It just happens. And it's quite funny. Sometimes the times when I am trying to kill someone, I find it almost impossible. When I'm not trying, it's like, dead. Shocking. But, The Sims, it's chaos. So we're now just working on the inside of the build. So we've done the bathroom, and it's just moving on to the interior. So in the interior, I made sure there was going to be lots of tables. There is a kitchen. There is the sign-in kind of check-in front desk kind of area, and a couple of waiter stations, and did I say a coat room? So that's the coat room that's going in here now. So that's going to go in behind the stairs, and yeah, the front area, and also a waiting area just with a couch and some magazines and stuff. In the debug menu with Adventure Waits, there's actually a tall magazine stand, and there's actually a side magazine, like the little side magazine stand that comes with, I don't know. There's a side magazine stack thing, and it sits in beside the couch. There's actually a couple of debug magazine stand thingies, so that's actually quite handy. you know, if you are doing like a limited pack build like I am today, having these little items that, you know, you would normally see in other packs, but not this pack, like it's not in the regular build buy menu. It's quite cool to have them because these are items that you can't function, that, you know, that you can't interact with anyway on the regular. So it's quite nice that we just have them in debug and we can use them with this pack and not, like, you know, have to add an extra pack to the build. So it's like, yay, plus they're free, so it keeps the costs down. Actually, this was actually not an expensive build, now that I think about it. I think it was around about 75,000-ish, 73,000, something like that. So not that expensive. It just seems to be very easy for me to spend over 100,000 when I'm building. So it's just like all of a sudden you've got you know, over 100,000, 200,000 spent on a build, and you're like, whoopsie. Bills be bad. I mean, you don't have to worry about that with the restaurant anyway, so it's all good. So I did find some things like, oh, that's a little magazine thing there by the by the couch on the waiting area. I did find like little bits of decoration that I thought would, you know, link into the idea of this being a seaside restaurant. So like little fishies and the buoys and the buoys, however you want to pronounce that. And, you know, the little mounted fish that you have around the place from different packs. So I got those out of debug and used those around the building. So I thought that, you know, I did a decent job of finding some decorative items that I thought would work really well with, you know, a seaside restaurant where probably fish is a feature on the menu. I mean, you can set the menu to whatever you like. So whatever you like on that one. Oh, and an aquarium, obviously, because if there's lobster on the menu, maybe there's a lobster in there, or maybe it's just a purely decorative fishy kind of thing, and you just want to stare in a mesmerized fashion at the fishies swimming around in the tank, because that's the kind of thing I would do. I'd be like, ooh, fishies, and get distracted, just staring at the fish and just forget about eating. Whoopsies. That's me, though. So yes, that's basically the shape and layout of the restaurant. So this is heading into the upstairs area. Now, in the upstairs area, I did place a debug item, and it's actually like a big picture or a map. And you'll see that go in probably very soon after we get a big table in. And you can actually interact with that map, which is cool. I didn't realize that it would be interactable with. I don't know if that's a word. Oh, I forgot I'm going to build the other kitchen. But yeah, you can interact with it, and you can find out things about Gibbi Point from it, because that map is actually in the actual game. When you do gameplay and you do like the little local quests and stuff around the place, that's a map that you have to interact with, and it's down in Jellyfish Junction. Blah, blah. Say the words properly, Velvet. Jellyfish Junction. And yeah, you go in and you interact with it, and you find different, you know, points of interest in Gibbi Point, and you find out stuff about local things. Anyway, you can use that map from debug. It's a debug item, and put it up, and it works. It still works. So this actually has like a little local hotspot mappy point thing that you can use, which is fun. So I was like, oh, when I was playtesting it, I just clicked on it to see whether or not it actually worked, and it did actually work, and I was just like, oh, that's handy. So if you are out and doing quests and stuff and trying to find out stuff about, you know, Gibbi Point while you're out on a date or whatever, then, well, you can do it in this restaurant. Handy dandy, huh? Handy dandy. So the restaurant, there's actually 2 cooking points as well, so you can have two chefs working in there, which is good, I assume. I assume that, you know, if there's 2 chefs in there, they'll work harder. So that's the little map there. So it takes a little bit just to get it sitting against the wall properly, but, you know, you kind of get there with it. But you can select it, and you can do your stuff on it. So hey, that's fantastic. And I use like the little walls there with the lifesavers on them, lifesaver circle things on them as dividers, which I thought was a cool way just to give like some privacy in the different little sections of the upstairs area. So yeah, did that as well, which is fun. Also used the little canvas curtains, the rolled up ones for the curtains in the windows, just because the large curtains don't always work from this pack, don't always work so well with the smaller windows, and I do find the rolled up sort of canvas curtains actually quite good for sitting in those smaller windows. So just use those all over the place, and I think it just kind of fit the more rustic feel of this particular building anyway. So I was happy with how it turned out. I think it was very cute, lots of napkins, salt and pepper, waiter station, all of that stuff. And I think that's just about our build, so I'm going to leave you guys to enjoy the tours. Thank you for watching. Remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.